Oh, greetings, Sanbonani, and welcome to Whether or Not. This is another edition of Whether or Not. Well, today we're talking about a specific type of cloud. What if I told you while you're sitting there at home and I told you that there is a cloud whereby if you see it in the morning, you can be almost certain that later on in that afternoon, you're definitely going to see some rainy weather later on that day. Would you be interested in knowing what type of cloud that is and if we can see it? Well, first, I'll start by telling you how to spot it, and then I'll tell you why it's a storm predicting cloud, and then lastly but not least, I'll tell you how to use this information to your best advantage. And maybe, who knows, you might not even need to watch the weather bulletin anymore. Well, Altocumulus castellanus, this is the cloud we're talking about. It occurs at about 2,500 to 6,000 meters above the ground. It has a broad base and sort of like turret-like structures on top of the cloud, which are part of the cloud. And although there's a protruding part of the cloud may not be visible from the bottom, it holds great significance, and you see how it resembles actually a castle. That's why we call it Altocumulus castellanus. And as you may know by now that all clouds are formed by warm air rising, cooling, and as it rises it forms forms clouds. Now what you see from these clouds, if you see it in the morning, it's telling us two things. If you see clouds in the morning, it's telling us two things. First of all, it's telling us that there is moisture in the atmosphere because you can see the cloud. And then the second thing that is telling us is that besides telling us that there is moisture, it's telling us that the air is unstable. Those turrets that you see on top of Altocumulus castellanus are visual representations of vertical air currents that actually supported the air parcels to get to these heights. Now, when you see this is a very lovely image of how actually just the clouds grow, if you can look at that for a second. But now after this, I've told you two things. I've told you that basically what you need is two ingredients. You need two ingredients for a storm. You need moisture, you need instability, and you need a trigger action. By seeing clouds, you know that you have moisture and you have instability. Last thing that you need is a trigger, or some what might call a spark, or whatever it is, to actually start the thunderstorms from developing. Now, if you see castellanus in the morning, you already know that you have the two main ingredients that you need. You have moisture, and on top of that, you have instability, which is the second ingredient that you need. All you need now is that spark to actually start the thunderstorms. What you may see is that later on, this castellanus may develop into these thunderstorm producing cumulonimbus clouds. It may start as a type 8. So this is what you call type 8, this Altocumulus castellanus, we call it middle cloud type 8. It may grow into cumulonimbus cloud, which is what we know as the thunderstorm producing cloud. So if you see castellanus in the morning, it may produce thunderstorms. This actually was made, this guy called Hattel in the 1970s actually made this observation that if you see it in the morning, it may develop into cumulonimbus. And over the years, the South African Weather Service actually put this to the test. They took data from 1961 to the year 2000 and looked at if this is true or not. And they found that most of the time, if in the morning you're going to see castellanus cloud, later on in the afternoon, you're almost sure that you're definitely going to see some thunderstorms in the form of cumulonimbus clouds. Here's a few examples of cumulonimbus cloud. This was actually taken in Germiston by Dustin Henrico, 2015. A very beautiful image of what a cumulonimbus cloud looks like. Almost certain this cloud, if you see a cumulonimbus, this is the most common cloud. It's the most famous cloud, if there is such a thing. And what it normally later on, you're definitely going to see rain after this cloud. This is what if you can see that, that's rain coming out of cumulonimbus cloud. And I'll leave your weather here for now, and that will be it for today. Remember to stay tuned next time to Whether or Not, and remember to take the weather with you anywhere you go.